Today we want to talk about, is mental illness spiritual or biological? Uh, Many people have wondered whether mental illness is something that is spiritual or something that is genetically correlated. Let me give a caveat at the beginning that this is not a medical service that we are offering here. We are only offering support for those who want to take their mental wellness to the next level, who wants to make the best use of their mental faculty. That is the purpose of this podcast. So we are not in any way prescribing medication or diagnosing diseases. That is not our purpose here. Our purpose is to help people take advantage of their mental wellness. And I believe that everyone who is able to participate in this podcast will be able to benefit. And what are we doing? This is Executive Wellness Podcast. This is this series, episode 2 of the podcast. I'm sure you were blessed with the first episode, and I'm sure today's episode is not going to be any different. The question again is mental illness spiritual or biological? Well, let me start by saying that mental illness is a complex interplay of both biological and spiritual factors. So you cannot really say that it is one cause or one factor that can lead to it. There are so many factors that can lead to mental illness. It is not strictly restricted to one factor. On one hand, it can be biologically engineered. On the other hand, it could also be spiritually engineered. And it can be a combination of both. It could be as a result of environmental factors. It can be all kinds of reasons. Could be a trigger for mental illness. Like I said, the exact causes of mental illness can vary depending on the specific condition. What can trigger individual A may not necessarily be the thing that will trigger individual B. There could be various things that can trigger mental illness in people. And I want you to know that mental illness is something that is not something that is designated for one particular individual per se. It could happen to anyone, but then the most important thing is that there is always a way out if early intervention is taken into consideration. Research suggests that both biological and spiritual factors contribute to the development and the progression of mental illness. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the spiritual factors that could trigger mental illness. You will be so surprised that some of these factors, they look very subtle. You will even think, can this kind of factor actually lead to some of these illnesses? I want to tell you that they can, because when one is not being fulfilled spiritually, it can be a trigger for mental illness. Number one, I like to talk about lack of meaning and purpose. When an individual lacks meaning and purpose in life, you don't know which direction you are going, you don't know what tomorrow holds for you, you don't know what is in the future for you. it can be a trigger for mental illness. It could be a factor that could lead to mental illness. So you want to pay attention to what is the meaning of life for you, and not only the meaning of life, you also need to understand the meaning in life. These are very, very crucial. You need to understand what is the meaning of life for you, and what is your own meaning in life, because there will be all kinds of things that will happen throughout your lifetime, and you better be able to discover your own meaning in all of these things that will be happening. Some of them will be pleasant, some of them will be very, very unpleasant, but that doesn't mean that is the end of the world. You just have to keep pushing, just have to keep going, just have to lift up your head and keep looking ahead. Another thing that could be a factor for that could be a spiritual factor for mental illness is when you have existential concern, or when you have spiritual struggles. For example, you don't know what the future holds for you. Maybe when you die, you don't know where you are going, whether you are going to hell, whether you are going to heaven. You are not certain about it. Or you don't even know what the future really holds for you. You are kind of blank. You are kind of blanked out about what tomorrow holds for you. All this could be a factor that could lead to mental illness. And I don't want anybody to commonize these things. It is better we hear that it is happening than for us to experience them. Essential concern could also be a factor, a spiritual factor for mental illness. Another factor is lack of social support from the spiritual community that you belong. Unfortunately, many spiritual community that we have in our society today are more or less like business organization. The humanity that is supposed to be the core of such community is long taken away. The general motivation for most spiritual community is how to raise money, how to make profits, how to increase their revenue. They are not really looking at the social connection. And once people are missing out from the social connection aspect of the spiritual community, then it can be a pathway to spiritual, it could be a pathway to mental illness for some people. I'm not saying to all people, but for some people, that could be something that could trigger off the illness in them. So we want to build our spiritual community in such a way that it is very supportive, it is very embracing, it is very inclusive. We want to build a spiritual community in such a way that we are willing to accommodate everyone, irrespective of their background, their background, their social background, their economic background, or even the tribe or the ethnicity that they belong to. We're able to build a community that welcomes everybody. If we lack such a community, it could be a trigger for mental illness for some people. So we want to pay attention to the kind of community, spiritual community that we are building. Then also lack of spiritual practice. When people don't have opportunity to practice their faith, they don't have opportunity to pray, they don't have opportunity to fast, they don't have opportunity to worship God in the way that they want to, or in the way that the desire to want to, all these limitations could be a pathway to mental illness. So we want to give people opportunity. We want to open up space for people to be able to practice their faith, to be able to exercise their fundamental religious rights. So we don't want to hinder anybody from expressing their religious freedom. That is very, very important. A lack of expression of religious freedom can play a big part in some people getting into mental illness. I've spoken about some spiritual factors. Let's also focus on some biological factors that could also result into mental illness. Number one, of course, without doubt, is genetics. That means this is something that can be transferable from generation to generation. And for the fact that a parent had it does not necessarily mean that the child will have it. But if there is an occasion for something to trigger it, what it means is that it then can happen. One thing about mental illness is that it always happens on the basis of a trigger. Something has to trigger it. There is no specific cause for it, but it has to be triggered by something. It could be something that you don't even pay attention to. So that is what can lead to mental illness. So genetics is one major biological factor that could lead to mental illness. Another factor is chemical imbalance in the brain, such as serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. I don't know how to pronounce that very well. Norepinephrine. These are some of the chemical imbalances that could occur within human brain. And when these imbalances occur, they can cause depression, they can cause anxiety, they can cause overeating, they can even cause you to have low appetite, they can cause you to oversleep, they can cause you to undersleep. They can come in various forms and versions. But the most important thing is that when these imbalances occurs within the brain, they can lead to mental illness. That is why we need to pay attention to some of the excesses that we indulge ourselves into. Anything that is in excess or anything that is, the most important thing is to maintain moderacy in whatever that we do. Anything that is above or too little is very dangerous to human wellness. So we have to maintain a certain level of moderacy in everything that we do. Another thing that could lead to a biological factor in mental illness is abnormality in the brain. If the brain refuses to develop the way it should develop, it can also lead to mental illness. So, for example, this is not something that could easily be caused by anybody. You don't even know the factors that are leading to such abnormalities in the brain. But one thing we know that when there is abnormality in the brains, obviously it can lead to mental illness. Another notable biological factors are hormonal changes. This is particularly prevalent among women. Hormonal changes, such as when a woman is trying to change from a young lady going into puberty or going into a full adult, or maybe when a woman is changing, uh, maybe it's reaching the stage of menopause, or even during the time of pregnancy. These are sometimes these are joyful moments, but occasionally sometimes they can sometimes lead to some very depressing circumstances. A woman in pregnancy can go into depression. A woman uh, reaching the stage of menopause can also suddenly find herself becoming depressed. Uh, so uh, these are some of the factors that can easily uh, transit somebody from normalcy into abnormality. And this can obviously impact the mental well-being of people, particularly as we cited. These are most commonly common among women. Uh, Other factors are environmental factors, such as trauma. When somebody experiences a traumatic experience, either in childhood, maybe they were not well taken care of, they lack parental affection, uh, maybe the parents experienced divorce during when they were when they during their childhood, maybe their parents when they are separate with. This can have a very depressive impact on children. So I want to encourage mothers and fathers out there to keep on keeping on. Don't separate. If you separate, you are not just the victim of the separation. The children are the most vulnerable part of that separation. So because of them, you want to keep your marriage intact so that you don't create unnecessary problem and chaos for your children. Also, stress in the workplace could also be an environmental factor that could lead to mental illness. When your boss is too much overbearing on you, is always over demanding results from you, all this chaotic, toxic environment at the workplace can also lead to mental illness. Other areas is when you are experiencing stress from breakups, particularly a young man and a young woman who has been in love for like 2, 3, 4 years, and suddenly one of the parties says they are no longer doing. This could cause a significant setback in uh, mental health. So I want to encourage young women and young men out there not to play games with anybody. Don't use people's life as a game uh, just because you felt you want to do things your own way. It is always better not to start some of these things than to start them and put the other person in a very precarious situation. So the stress from breakups and even from marital divorce can be a significant pathway to mental illness. So we want to avoid all these outbreaks. That is what I will call them, outbreaks by all means. Young lovers, please do it gently, be kind to yourself, be respectable to yourselves. Don't selfishly put another person, another individual in a path that he will not be able to recover all the rest of his life. Some people are never able to get out of it. Some are able to bounce back, but some are not ever again able to recover from it. So I want to encourage you out there, young lovers out there, to be very kind to your partner and not put them in a very precarious situation. Now, the question I want to ask at this point is mental illness treatable? Is there any solution to mental illness? Of course, my answer is yes. Mental illness is treatable. Don't let anybody deceive you that once you have mental illness, that is the end of life. That is not the end of life. There have been many people who have gone through mental illness and who have even done far better after the illness than they were doing prior to the illness. So mental illness is treatable. Let's accept that. There is no debate around that. But the most important thing is early intervention. For the treatment to be effective, there must be early intervention. Mental illness must not be allowed to drag for too long. When you allow it to drag for too long, that is when you see people finding it very difficult to bounce back from the illness. But if proactive steps are taken immediately when it is noticed and effective psychotherapy or medication are applied to it, you see that most people will definitely bounce back from the illness. So while the illness can be chronic and be exhausting, it can really be very exhausting, not only to the person, but to the entire family. You see, when somebody is sick mentally, it's not just the person that is sick. The entire family is in trauma. They are in trauma. They are in trouble because they are not going to be at rest. They are going to be running up and down just to make sure that the person is stable. So various treatment and therapies can help manage symptoms, just like I said earlier on, and improve quality of life and promote recovery. So don't let anybody tell you that mental illness is not treatable. It is treatable. And early intervention is the key to it. Now, so what are the treatment options? There are various treatment options that we can explore to address the issue of mental illness. One of the most common treatment option, of course, is medication. Medication, it could be through antidepressants, mood stabilizer, antipsychotic, and anti-anxiety medication, which can be used to alleviate symptoms. These things can be used to alleviate symptoms. There are other ways you can. Medication is not the only way to address mental illness. There are some people, they can cope with, they can be free from the illness without even medication, but not in all cases. But there are some people, all that they need is psychotherapy. Psychotherapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. There are some called psychodynamic therapy. There are some called family therapy, which can be used to help individuals to understand and manage their condition. However, I have a time-tested therapy that I have personally developed and put together, which I call Creed to Grace Therapy, CTG therapy. I have written a book on this. Very soon, the book will be out. And it's a therapy that I believe is going to help and liberate a lot of people. So I want you to keep an eye on that. In the next few months or thereabout, 2 books will be coming in that direction. And one is specifically for the Creed to Grace therapy, which can be used to help individuals who are going through mental health challenges. Another treatment option could be through lifestyle changes like regular exercise, healthy eating, stress management, social support. You see, one of the very key factor that is very important in maintaining mental wellness is to have a very strong social support. You can never overrule the place of social support. If somebody is going through mental health illness and is not having the social support, you will only help aggravate the problem the more. But when that person is having a well and a robust social support, then you can help such people to get out of their sickness very quickly. So social support can contribute to the overall mental well-being of individuals in a place where they can get it. It can help improve their overall mental well-being. There are other treatment options like alternative therapies, like mindfulness based intervention, such as people practicing yoga, people practicing creative art therapy. You will find out among people suffering mental illness, most of them are usually very creative when it comes to artwork. And that is a good way of expressing themselves and to ensure that they get out of the mental health challenges that they are going through. Like in Christianity, for example, there is meditation, which is very close to yoga, which you find in Buddhism. So in Christianity, rather than practicing yoga, what we have is meditation. You meditate, you spend some time. You have a scripture, a healing scripture, a scripture that deals like, let's say John 2. Beloved, I wish you above all things that thou may be in health and prosper, even as thy soul prospers. You can use that scripture, for example, as a meditative scripture, and just dwell on that scripture for as long as you want to. And before you know it, you see the healing virtue that scripture carries. You begin to see them having expression within you. That is what meditation can do. So at this point in time, I want to talk about the effectiveness of the treatment. Let's talk about the effectiveness of the treatment. Now, let's talk about the medication. Now, it is agreed that people who use this medication, there are 50% to 70% of individuals with depression, anxiety, who can experience significant symptoms reduction with medication. That is clinically proven that about 50 to 70% individuals will get improvement, will have significant improvement from the medication treatment. So you can see that there are some little percentage of people that the medication cannot fully capture, but at least we're certain that between 50 and 70% of individuals can get significant help through medication. And also through psychotherapy, we have also about 50 to 80% of people getting help, having significant improvement in their symptoms through psychotherapy, such as the grace therapy that I mentioned earlier on, or the family therapy, or any other therapy that are out there. People can get improvement through some of these therapies. It is not all mental sickness that requires medication, but some of them that do not require medication can effectively be controlled using the psychotherapies. But the most important one for me is not just about the psychotherapy or the medication, it's a combination of both, which we call combination therapy. The combination therapy is a combination, combination of medication and psychotherapy. Is combining both together, which can then lead to a better outcome than either treatments alone. Either you want to use medication alone or you want to use psychotherapy alone. But in a situation where you combine the two together, then you can expect to have a more superior result. Now, how do you optimize your treatment effectiveness? How do you optimize it? How do you get the best value for your treatment? Like I mentioned earlier on, the one thing that is very, very important is early intervention. Early intervention. When you see somebody going through mental illness, don't delay. Take the person to where they can quickly get support. Don't delay. Delay could be very dangerous. Early intervention is very, very important. You need to seek treatment early. And when you do that, you can then improve the outcome of that individual. Not only that, adherence to treatment is very, very key too. Adherence to treatment. Consistently following treatment plans can lead to improved outcome. When you adhere to your treatment plan, then it can improve your outcome. Then number 3, I've said it before, there is need for social support. The support system must be top-notch. Having a strong support system can enhance treatment effectiveness. There is no way you can overrule effective social support from somebody who is going through mental health. That support has to be there if the recovery is what is desirable. That person must have a very solid social support. And then there must be what I call therapist-client relationship. You need to be able to have a very cordial relationship with your therapist. If you are the individual who is suffering the mental illness, there is need for you to have a bond with your therapist. You need to build a positive, trusting relationship between your therapist and yourself so that you can improve your treatment outcome. It's just normal. When you have a chemistry between your therapist and yourself, it helps improve the way both of you sees the solution to your problem. It helps you see what will be in your best interest together, and then to be able to apply it. And let's talk about attaining full recovery. You know, we said at the beginning that mental illness is treatable. It's not just treatable. One can actually be at a level where they are operating even beyond the level they were when they did not even have the sickness. So that is where we are talking about. That is why we are talking about attaining full recovery. So the most important thing is that recovery is possible. Recovery is possible. Many individuals with mental illness can experience significant recovery and improved quality of life. Don't let anybody deceive you that once you are down with mental illness, that is the end of life for you. That is not true. Most people with mental illness can experience full recovery if the right things are put in place. The right actions are put in place. The right treatment plans are put in place. Early intervention is employed. Adherence to treatment is followed through. Support system is top-notch. If there is a very solid therapist-client relationship, it can help improve the outcome and the quality of life of individuals. To also attain full recovery, there is need for mental health management. There must be consistency in the way you manage your mental wellness. Ongoing treatment and self-management strategies can help individuals manage their symptoms and prevent relapse. So you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent with your self-management. You have to be consistent with your ongoing treatment. You don't have to say, okay, I'm okay now, which means I will not be doing what I'm doing before. You have to keep doing what is keeping you to be okay. You have to be consistent with it. And that is one of the ways to attain full recovery. Another thing you can do to attain full recovery is to become a self-advocate. You need to be able to advocate for yourself. Not only for yourself, you need to be able to advocate for others who are going through similar situation. Empowering individuals to take an active role in treatment and recovery can lead to better outcome. So you need to take charge of your health. That is the bottom line of everything I've been saying this afternoon. If you are going through mental health challenges, you have to take charge of your health. Nobody is going to do it for you. You have to take the driver's seat and really take the bull by the horn. Now, as I conclude, let me conclude by saying every individual's experience with mental illness is unique, and treatment effectiveness can vary. However, with the right combination of treatments and support, many individuals can experience significant improvement and recovery. I hope I've been able to bless you this afternoon with all these points that I've been able to raise. I want you to look forward to our summer transformation camp meeting, which is meant for different age categories from age 8 to 12, from 13 to 19, or from 20 and above. Very shortly, we are going to bring out flyers, and it's going to be 100% online. If you want to participate, you will need to register to be able to participate. And let me also make it clear that we are not looking for crowd. We are looking for people that we can actually manage and be able to pour leadership ideas into their mind that can help them to take their life to the next level. So I want you to keep looking out for that, and also to keep your eye open for our leadership blueprint podcast as well. Let's keep engaging. Let's keep sharing all our podcasts. Let's keep commenting. Let's keep reacting to it. If there is any question you want to ask, you can ask. You can chat me privately, and I'll be willing to answer your question. I just want you to be rest assured that your life is in your hand. It's both in God's hand and it's also in your hand. And nobody can help you take your life to the next level more than what you can do. So I believe that there is help for you if you believe that there is help for you. So until I see you next time, I want to appreciate everyone who have participated in this lesson today. Hope to see you next time on another episode. God bless you. Bye-bye.